So, you've got a game-changing idea for an AI agent in your business. That's the easy part. But how do you actually get from that cool concept to a massive, company-wide success? Well, the biggest hurdle you'll find is often just getting that first yes for a pilot project. In this explainer, we're going to walk you through a playbook to not just secure that pilot, but to run it flawlessly and then scale it into a huge win. Let's get right into it.
First, we'll cover the art of the close. Then we'll dive into how to run a totally flawless pilot. From there, we'll look at taking that successful pilot and turning it into a full-scale production win. And finally, we'll wrap it all up into your very own AI playbook.
Okay, first up, the art of the close. Now, you might think getting an AI pilot approved is some kind of technical challenge, but honestly, it's a sales challenge. Success here isn't really about the code, it's about psychology. We're going to explore 3 proven techniques to get your stakeholders on board and get that yes.
First on the list is the assumption close. This one is all about projecting confidence. See, instead of asking for permission, you just act as if the decision is already a done deal. The whole conversation naturally shifts from, should we do this, to, okay, how do we do this? It's a subtle change, but it's an incredibly effective psychological one.
Just look at the language here. It starts with agreement, right? Sounds like a great fit. And then it immediately pivots to logistics. When would be a good time to kick this off? It's not asking if, it's asking when. And that simple change moves the stakeholder right past the decision point, making the yes feel like it's already happened.
Next up, we have the alternative close. This is a classic for a reason, you know? Instead of a yes or no question, you present 2 positive yes options. So the choice is no longer about whether to move forward, but about which path to take. It really simplifies their decision and keeps all the momentum on your side.
What's so powerful about this one is how it positions the stakeholder as the expert. You're not telling them what to do, you're asking for their strategic opinion on what would have the biggest impact. This really empowers them, makes them a partner in the decision, and it guides them toward picking their favorite version of yes.
And finally, the ROI Close. This is your go-to for the numbers-driven decision maker. You just cut through all the noise and make the conversation about one thing and one thing only, the bottom line. By using their own data, you can build this undeniable financial case that makes approving the pilot a simple, logical, no-brainer business decision.
So to make this work, you have to use their own data. Imagine you've already established they get, say, 300 tickets a day, and that takes 100 hours of team time. Then you can come in and say, what if we deflect just 40% of those? That's 50 hours a day you get back. Once you translate that time into actual money, the question on the screen, does that ROI make sense, becomes almost impossible to say no to. And this is the number that really seals the deal. $50,000 a month. I mean, when a pilot that costs less than 10 grand can unlock that kind of value, the conversation completely changes. It's not an expense anymore, it's an investment with an absolutely staggering return. Okay, you did it. You secured the yes. Congratulations. But you know, getting approval is really just the starting line. Now you have to deliver. And that brings us to Section 2, running a flawless pilot. A great pilot isn't magic, it's the result of disciplined management and super clear communication, right from day one. Your kickoff meeting has to establish these 4 pillars of clarity. First, define success with hard numbers, like deflection rate, so there's no debate later. Second, set a non-negotiable communication schedule to keep things moving. Third, know your escalation path before you need it so a small problem doesn't blow up into a crisis. And finally, put a firm go or no-go date on the calendar. This whole framework is basically your insurance policy against things getting messy. You know, effective communication needs a recipe, and this is it. Your weekly check-in shouldn't be some vague, wandering conversation. No, it needs to be a tight 35-minute tactical meeting. 10 minutes on the data, 10 on user feedback, 10 on roadblocks, and 5 on what's next. This kind of disciplined structure is how you stay on track, solve problems while they're small, and stop meetings from derailing the whole project. So, you've run a flawless pilot, the results are in, and it's a huge success. But hey, don't pop the champagne just yet. Remember, the goal was never just a successful pilot, it's about driving real, lasting value across the whole organization. And that brings us to Section 3, from pilot to production. Scaling isn't about just flipping a switch, it's about being strategic. You have to document your lessons so you don't repeat mistakes and so you can speed up future rollouts. Then identify the next highest impact use case to build on your momentum.
Plan a phased rollout to avoid overwhelming everybody and to build buy-in department by department. And this is crucial. Establish a center of excellence to make sure you have consistency and quality as you expand.
This phased approach is absolutely key. You start with that pilot win. Then in Q1, you expand across that first department, let's say support. In Q2, you take what you learned and move to the next high-impact area, like sales. You see? You're building momentum and proving value quarter by quarter, which makes it so much easier to get everyone on board. It's just a smart, sustainable way to scale.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From crafting the perfect pitch to managing the pilot and planning for the big expansion. So let's bring it all together in our final section, Your AI Playbook, and boil this all down to the single most important takeaway.
And here it is. This is the core message of this entire thing. The most amazing AI tech in the world will absolutely fail if it doesn't have a smart, human-led process guiding it. Success really hinges on your ability to sell the vision, manage the execution with discipline, and then strategically scale that victory. It's the process, not just the product, that gets you the results. So, we'll end with this question for you. We've given you the plays, the closing techniques, the management framework, the expansion strategy. The playbook is officially in your hands now. The only question left is, where are you going to start? What's that first high-impact problem you're going to solve?